What's good? If you love great stories, love football, and love education, but not only that, love when education and football is put together to empower the youth, this is the episode for you. Listen to how Dominique found his why through his passion of playing football. Listen to how his time at Boston College has now impacted his life to today. I'm telling you guys, this episode is one for the books. It's a hidden gem that you can't get anywhere else besides here. So leave a like, subscribe, and comment if you feel like. And as I always say, be great. Why? Because I think you're great. Only person that needs to think they're great is you. Tobo.
What's good, wonderful people of the world? My name is Toby. You are kicking it with me. So today we have a special guest on the pod, someone from Brockton, Massachusetts, then went on to Boston College to play football, and he was a captain his senior year. And then from there, he wanted to keep going, so he did a short stint in the NFL. And from there, man, only the sky was the limit because now he's an assistant principal, and on the side, he's doing coaching as well. So I would like to introduce Dominique Williams and just give him the floor just to say a few things.
My man Toad, man, thank you for having me, man. Just blessed to be in your presence, man. I appreciate what you're doing. I appreciate the words that you're spreading, the connection that you're building with people of all really nations, Lord, just all nations, all neighbors, state to state you going right now, my man. So thank you for this opportunity, man. I hope the people listening just really hear what we both have to say, and I think you're inspiring the next generation of people and this current generation. So I hope this feeds somebody's soul and just give them what they've been waiting to hear.
No, I appreciate it, man. And just saying what you just said, today's topic is empowerment and inspiration. You have a very bright journey. Your journey wasn't easy, and and the thing about it is that your journey isn't even focused on you, it's focused on others. And what you want to do for your community. So, before we get into all that, hey, we gotta do the icebreaker. It's a thinking like so. This is like my staple.
Yeah.
I always like doing the thinking like Tobe just to kind of break that ice, get everyone a little comfortable. So for you, your thinking like Tobe is, what was your favorite football moment?
Ooh, man. My favorite football moment. Uh, I had two. I'm gonna give you two real quick. My favorite all-time favorite football moment was my junior year and sorry, my senior year in college. Um, we had USC, USC Trojans coming into town. And they out there cocky, you know what I'm saying? They had Sewell Cravens, they had Juju Smith-Schuster, they had the running back last name Madden. They had a bunch of big guys, man. Like I ain't never seen dudes this big in the ACC. You know what I mean? And they come in ranked number 9, and I'm the captain. They're like, we had college game day that night, and it was I'm like, they're like, yeah, blah blah blah, because we got spanked the previous year. And they came in our hometown. We had Tyler Murph, who just transferred from a quarterback from the University of Florida, and we was skating on him that night. And we upset that number 9. So that was one of my favorite college moments, football moments. And then number 2 would be in high school. My junior year, going to my junior year, yeah, we was a playoff bound team, and we had a local team called Dartmouth coming into town. And that year, Dartmouth had three ridiculous athletes. They had Sean Sylvia, who ended up playing safety with me at Boston College. He was a quarterback. They had a tight end who was 6'5", 255, Artie Lynch, who ended up playing tight end at Georgia and in the NFL. And they had a running back, Jordan Todman, who played running back at UConn and played in the NFL with the Raiders, the Vikings. Like, so you got 3 Division I people on that team, and they came into our home stadium. We beat the crap out of them. So just, you know what I mean? Like, I love being an underdog. That's the story of my life. Like, I love being an underdog and rising to the occasion.
No, I love that. I love that. Underdogs are always it's kind of why I love I was about to say Cinderella, but I meant to say March Madness because when what is it? A St. Peter's goes all the way
Yeah.
to the Sweet 16. It's beautiful because they're not supposed to be there, but they're there because why? They had the grit, they had the grind, and they had confidence. So it's always good to hear that. I always I always mess around with you and say that, you guys don't want to see Syracuse ever, but
Fuck that smoke. Man, you know we ain't scared of that. We wasn't ducking none of that. Yeah, me, my senior year, we beat y'all. We lost the year before, but y'all came down and y'all wanted to call us a rivalry. We not no rivalry, man. Like, come on. Y'all are nice and ball, but in football, although shout out to the new coach, though. Shout out to the new football coach. He's doing some big things. He's bringing in some big time recruits. You
Oh
know what I mean?
yeah.
That's
Oh yeah.
awesome. And
He
he's a
he
man of color, man. You know what I mean? I love that. I love to see that.
Hey man, he's hitting the ground running and just really putting his all into it. It's good to see that. And as well, he is a man of color, so that's even an added bonus. Um, and just while we're on this on the university route of things, education has been a pivotal role in your life. Can you just speak a little bit more about that and how that has gotten you to where you are now?
So the first thing is my mother planted that seed as a kid. My mother, she had me when she was 15 years old. And she before she had me, she was on a track to go to college on a full scholarship. And then she had me as a sophomore and then had my sister as a junior. So by the time she graduated, she had two kids under the age of two. So education wasn't an option for us, even though like I didn't really care for education. I knew that, but I knew that that was the key to my future. So going to college was never an option for me. It was you're gonna go to college, you're gonna graduate
Mm.
from college, and then you'll figure it out from there. And I think I really pay homage to my mother for that. You know what I mean? For really like not allowing me to quit because there was many times where I was just like, yo, education is just not for me. Um, but looking back at it now, I'm super thankful, man. And God has really done something in me because I went to Boston College thinking, I hate to say it, but I was a typical athlete. Like, yo, I'm coming here not as a student athlete, but as an athletic student. I'm going to the league. You know what I mean? And it wasn't until my senior year where I really started as a captain. I had an opportunity to go volunteer at a local elementary school, and I was reading books to the kids and helping the kids at recess, and just seeing the way they like respected like adult figures. And honestly speaking, like it was in a predominantly white town, but you see a couple black kids who see somebody that looks like them, semi-successful. And I was like, yo, I want to do this. Like I want to, when I'm done with my career, I want to give back to the community. I want to give back to the kids and be the person that I needed when I was in high school. And so that's really where it started. And after I graduated college, I had a short stint with the Cleveland Browns, got cut, came home, and I was like, I told my girl at the time, I was like, yo, I'm done. Like I'm ready. I'm ready to be a father to my son. I'm ready to give back and be the person that I needed when I was in high school. And I knew that God had blessed me with all of these experiences in college, playing at a Division I level, as a high caliber level, all these experiences not just for me, but for the next person. So that has been my nucleus every day I wake up and when I walk through my building doors.
Man, you just kind of unpacked a lot right there. The one thing that stood out to me the most is your senior year when you go to the elementary schools and you're reading, and then you really see how they're receptive of you. And just going off of that, you have your own scholarship where you're giving to someone else to be able to get what you were able to achieve and obtain throughout your journey. Speak a little bit more about that, and when did that kind of come into fruition, and how has that process been?
Yeah, so it's honestly it's really it's something that God planted in my heart maybe 4 or 5 years ago. And being an educator in the state of Massachusetts, to be honest with you, it's a slim margin for us. Out of the entire state of Massachusetts, only 2% of educators are educators of color. So it's not a good number at all. So being one of the few educators of color in my district at the time, I was like, you know what? I want to inspire kids to join education because I'll be real with you. When I was growing up in high school and in my like K through 12, I always heard, don't be a teacher. It's not good pay. You're not going to get good money. Like it's not. And I was like, so I never thought about being a teacher. I always thought about being a doctor, a lawyer, working ESPN, something fun, something where you get to travel and make a lot of money. And then when you get into education, you start realizing like this is so rewarding. Like it's not about the money. I could tell you right now, I've been a educator. This is being going into my 10th year, and there's maybe been 2 days out of 10 years that I felt like I've had to go to work. It feels like a part of life, but whatever. My scholarship is for students of color who are graduating high school who are from Brockton, the city of Brockton, who want to be educators. Um, and I just want to inspire the next group of kids. I want to plant those seeds. I want them to produce good fruit. And I can't do it alone. I'm at the point where I'm trying to partner with colleges because, like I know, you can have the best support system in high school, good guidance counselors, good teachers, good mentors, good coaches. But once you get to college, once you get on that college campus, like you're a small fish in a big, big pond.
Oh yeah.
And what I've experienced is that kids they lose their way, they get discouraged. They have an unfortunate like circumstance that happens back home when they come back home. Like it's a variety of things. So for me, I'm trying to plant the seed for the next generation of educators of color, and just inspire them. Like, when they see someone like me who looks like them, who is from the same city as them, who's made it, you know what I mean? And just being like, yo, this is what I want to do. Like, I love that you want to be an educator. Let me sow this seed to you. Like, here's $1,000 scholarship just for you following your passion. And the amount of reception that I get from each time I've endowed that scholarship to I've already had two students, and when they see it, it's an experience that I can't even describe because you could just see parents are so grateful and the kids are so grateful. Even the guidance counselors are like, "Thank you so much. Like this child really needed it."
No, that's awesome, man. And just going back into your intro, your journey wasn't always about you. It wasn't solely focused on you. It was always focused on the people around you. And you realized that, especially from that moment where you started reading to the kids, and you're like, you know, this made me feel good, but at the same time, it's making somebody else realize that there's somebody just like them doing what they could possibly be doing in the future. And, that's the inspirational part of it. Um, your journey is just the way that just hearing you speak and how you're kind of portraying what you're saying is like we need more people like you.
Yeah, and I'll be very honest with you. So, and and I'm writing another book right now currently, because everybody, when people see successful people, they just be like, oh, like they just grinded. They just, you know what I mean? They don't really look into being like, yo, how many times was that person told no? How many times has that person failed? You know what I mean? I think I tell people this all the time in high school. I thought I was the best kid in the state. I knew I was the best kid in the state, but because I didn't have the measurables or all this other stuff, people, I was overlooked. And I remember going to Boston College my junior year, and Sean Devine is an O-line coach. He was recruiting Massachusetts at the time. And he looked at me. I just dominated at the camp. I was locking every kid up that they offered. And he was like, you had a good camp. You're good, but you're not good enough to play Division I football here. And then like within 2 minutes, he offered my boy Albert, who was my cornerback. I was a safety, he's my corner. He offered him, and he's only a sophomore. And I'm like, I bet like I'm turning up senior year. So senior year, I just grinded. And he came that recruiter came to every game because he was recruiting Albert, and I was going off. And I had the mission to prove, like, yo, you think I'm not good enough? Watch me dominate and destroy every other kid that you're recruiting. And then the week of Thanksgiving, he calls my phone and offers me a scholarship. You know what I
Uh,
mean? Same thing as an assistant principal. I was 29 years old when I became an assistant principal at a high school, the fourth biggest high school in the state of Massachusetts. And everybody's like, "Oh, like it's because he's good." But yo, people told me like you'll never be a principal, you'll never be an assistant principal because you never was a teacher. You know what I mean? Like I don't live in this narrative, and neither should anybody ever live in this narrative where someone gets to tell you who you can and what you can do. Absolutely not. If God got something for you in your plans, God will open every door that's intended for you for him to open and you walk through. You know what I mean? So that's always been my message. Like, nope, nope, you can't stop something that God is going to get done.
no, I love that. I love that. That mindset. That mindset is I'm trying to find the right word for it. I can't think of it, man. Like that's some real I would even like to say Mamba mentality. Like you're not gonna let nobody tell you, hey, you can't do that. Okay, let me tell myself I can't do it. I'm not listening to you. As long as I believe I can do it, I'm gonna still do it. You know?
And
Um,
it's necessary, man.
exactly. Just kind of going into that mindset, how were you able? Because nowadays, I know you see society. I know you see how the kids are being brought up now. It's a lot. It's not as, I don't know what the right word is. They're just not as motivated. Let's just say that.
Yeah.
Um, how were you able to get to that mindset to where like whatever I put my mind to, I'm going to achieve it. I'm going to touch that. I'm going to get there.
Yeah, I think one of the things that for me is just exposure. Um,
Mm,
just being real with myself, you know what I mean? Being honest with myself, being vulnerable with myself. And I think, to be honest with you, I think especially men of color, not to generalize, but I just call it for what it is and what I've seen and what I've experienced, is that we live in this world, this society, especially amongst men of color, where we don't necessarily think it's okay to ask for help. You know what I mean? Or,
mm,
hey, can I learn from you? Can you mentor me? How did you do this? Um, so it's two-sided to that coin too, because for me, I've never been scared to be like, yo, I want to learn from you. Like, how did you, like, I just watch people, I watch and I analyze and then I ask questions. But also in my role, you know what I mean? Like I consider myself, successful. And if there was ever someone who's like, yo, I want you to mentor me, I would never ever say no, because I need to pay it forward. You know what I mean? Like we live, it's about community. It's about um giving back, but not being a crab in a bucket. You know what I mean? Like, don't be a crab in a bucket. Like, you don't have to pull somebody down for you to go up. You know what I
yeah.
mean? I say this to everybody. There's more than enough money to be made in this world. You don't have to compete with nobody. There's no competition. There really isn't, and we got to get out of that mentality. But for me, it's just resilient, just being resilient. I don't think that I'm on this earth for me anymore. I know that my purpose in this world is for someone else. So if I give up right now, I'm letting someone down, and there's no pressure to perform. It's really just being like, I don't know why, God, but I trust you enough to know that. All right, you'll show me when the time is right.
Just hearing you say that, it just reminds me of a saying that I love dearly. Kobe Bryant said this, and it is there is power in understanding the journey of others to help create your own.
Yeah,
That's my headline for all my social medias, for LinkedIn, everything, even for this podcast, because it's true.
deep.
Understanding other people is helping you create your own lane, and your lane is education, inspiring, empowering others around you, empowering your community. If it's
Yeah,
not through the educational side, it's through football.
yeah. And you can't when you're like that, when you're in that mindset, one thing I loved about Cole, you know what I mean? He was never afraid to learn. Like people
Mm.
don't real like people talk about his like talents on the court, but if you really study his life off the court, he was a scholar.
Oh yeah.
Scholar. He spoke what, three languages?
Oh
He,
yeah.
he lived in Italy or France. Like, he was a scholar. So you're talking
Yeah.
about someone who's one of the best basketball players in the world and is not afraid to learn. Like, and that's where like you can't sell yourself short. You have to be able to learn. And when you learn and not afraid to learn, and it could be the slightest bit. Like for me, I check myself all the time. Like we have a bunch of kids in Massachusetts, we have an influx of kids who are coming from Haiti. You know what I
Mm.
mean? I don't know Haitian culture. I don't know what that's like over there. I don't know what their education looks like. But as a man of color, I'm not afraid to learn what that looks like, learn what mental health looks like, learn what their language and their culture looks like. Like it's only going to help me. And if I can help myself, I can help somebody else.
No, that's true. Speaking on that, this is like a twofold comment. First thing is, when we look at the upbringing of the youth, people that are in college, people that are moving on from college, a lot of people say, I don't really have the opportunities. I don't really have the opportunities. I don't really have the opportunities. Because, every job, every place wants something. They want something that you can show. And the second thing of that is, and it kind of goes back to you learning about the Haitian culture and learning all these other cultures. I know I set a goal for myself every year to learn something new about a culture. It's just something I want to do
Yeah,
because you never know who you're gonna meet. You're gonna meet somebody from a different culture, and you want to be able to relate their culture back to them.
yeah,
It's all about how you make somebody else feel. They
mhm,
feel more welcome because, hey, I was born in Nigeria. Not a lot of people that I meet
yeah,
can relate back to my culture. So, just if I was to find someone that says, "Hey, I know a lot about the Nigerian culture, your Igbo, your Yoruba, blah blah blah," I'm like, okay, you're making me feel a little, But
Yeah,
you gotta think about it. Like the people that are coming from an international standpoint, like my whole life, I felt out of place. I felt discomfort. Oh, and if it
real.
wasn't for sports, I would still be feeling that way.
It's
So
real. Yeah,
like learning these different cultures is not, yes, it's benefiting you because you're gaining the knowledge, but it's really making an impact on the person that you're learning of their culture. So that
shout
was
out
just
to you. Shout out to you for being vulnerable with that. You know what I mean? Though, like, and if you never had that sense of awareness about yourself, right? You would never position yourself. You would never be able to position yourself for you to accept other cultures. And I think that that's where we fall short. And at least in education, is we have this mindset and we got to get out of it. And I'm trying to break the mold of, hey, I know that already. I know this. I knew that. I knew that. Yep, we don't know. Like how me and you learned 10 years ago in high school, 15 years, like that's not how we learn to that's not how the kids learn today. So
exactly.
it's yeah, it's a lot of exposure and just breaking down those barriers, those self-imposed barriers that we put up, you know.
You know, speaking on self-imposing barriers, that's big when it comes to sports. It's a lot of self-doubt, it's a lot of comparison. Is that saying, comparison is a thief of joy.
Right.
Um, when you coach, one, why'd you get into coaching? Two, what are you looking to teach the kids that you're coaching?
So why did I get into coaching? So for in complete honesty, when I got cut from Cleveland, I came home and I was working at Dick's Sporting Goods. I had to get a job. I had a newborn on the way, and I got a call from Brockton High was a Division I high school program, top of the food chain, right? And I got a call from a Division 7 vocational school coach, like, "Hey, you want to come volunteer, coach?" And I heard this dude. I'm like, "Yo, you're bugging. Like, calling out. Like, do you know who I am? Why are you on my line like this? Like, I just came back from Cleveland. What you doing right now?" And God's funny because I ended up accepting the job. I volunteered, didn't get paid. I coached every single day. And the first day I was on that field, it was as if I put my pads on for the first time. It was the greatest sense of I don't even know. Like it was like it felt success. Like it was the best feeling. It was like my son was born, and I fell in love with coaching. And then I kept trying to go back and do another pro day and try out with the CFL, and it just wasn't there. Like playing football wasn't there. My heart was with coaching, and then I became a head coach. I became actually was one of the youngest head coaches in the state of Massachusetts. I was 25 years old when I became a head coach, and I fell in love with the idea, right? You got to take a high school coach, a high school football team. You get 65 kids. And I was coaching from a regional school. So our school was made up of 11 different towns, right? We had Brockton, which is 56% people of color. We had other towns who was like 8% people of color. So predominantly white towns. And I'm
Mm,
taking 65 kids from 11 different towns and getting them to work towards one goal every single day. And I fell in love
mm,
with that feeling like, yo, I can, even in Brockton, right? When I coached in Brockton, I could take 65 kids from 8 different hoods. You know what I mean? Like, how the streets is. Like, it's a
oh yeah.
city. Like, the hoods is the hood. So if your hood got beef with this hood, you know what I'm saying? But if this kid's from that hood and he's like, if my quarterback's from one hood and then my star receivers from another hood, I guarantee I can get them to go win games for me. You know
Mm.
what I mean? I fell in love with that. Like I love breaking down those barriers. I love getting kids to look at each other like brothers and build that camaraderie and just knowing like, hey, when you step on that field, you got someone to your right and you got someone to your left that's counting on you. And I translated that into life experiences. And I can tell you right now, I've been coaching for 9 years. I've never had one kid go to jail. I've never
Wow.
had one kid get locked up or not to jinx it or anything, but no one has, passed away from anything malicious or committed any crime because I'm teaching them life lessons. I'm teaching them, I'm not just teaching coaching athletes. I'm teaching men. You know what I mean? I'm trying
Mm.
to raise men and to be better. Um, Yes, you had a second question. I forgot what the second
That
question was.
that was the second
Oh,
question.
all right,
You
yeah,
did.
yeah. I love it, man. You know what I mean? I think like, and that's one of the things where I wanted to become an administrator because, yo, it's cool to build a good team, right? But that football team really only lasts from August to Thanksgiving, November, right? And I became an administrator. I pursued to be an assistant principal because I didn't want to just do it on one team. I want to do it in a school. I want to do it in a community, right? If I can get a school to get 2,800 kids from all over town and work towards one mission, not fight, not use drugs, not curse out teachers, to seek education, to use education as a tool instead of like a weapon. That's really like my passion right now. You know what I mean? Like I'm trying to raise better adults, better citizens, you know?
Man, you have you ever watched All American?
Yeah, yeah, I
You
did.
remind me of Billy Baker so much. You remind me of Billy Baker so much, man. Like
Yeah,
that was such a well said, response because it's true. You want to be able to build because I grew up without a father. So how many other people that look just like me growing up without a father for the most part, like being
it's
able to
heartbreaking. It's
is
heartbreaking, brother. It's
is
heartbreaking. I'll tell you right now, like the city that I work in now is truly heartbreaking. You know what I mean? And yeah, I can't speak on it too much, you know what I mean? But it's hurtful. It breaks my heart. It really does. And not that I'm the best father ever, not that I'm the best man ever, but like, yo, we got to start somewhere. You know what I mean?
yeah.
Like our young men, our young women need parents. You know what I mean? Like mother and father, because it's not just dads being unavailable, not just dads, but mothers. You know what I mean? Like it's really hard. But I think the Lord has blessed you, me, other kids with sports because sports help um, form a sense of identity, not their a sense of identity and a sense of belonging, a community.
Mm.
So it's powerful, man.
No, I love that. I love that. Going back into the father comment, how has it been like being a father for you? I know I see your Instagram post. You seem super excited, super happy.
I love it,
How's
man.
that been?
I love it. I love it. It's not easy being a parent, you know what I mean? And there's a lot of it's a learn as you go, right? You're building the ship as you try to sail it. But I love it. I love every bit of it. You gotta take every breath and just cherish every moment because I'm gonna have an 8-year-old tomorrow. He'll be 8 years
Wow.
old. And I'm like, yo, I still remember when I found out, my girl was pregnant, and I was like, it's just I love it, man. I really do. And just to see the blessing that God has placed on my life with trusting me to be a father of his creation. You know what I mean? That's the way I really look at it. Like God trusted me enough to be his father. And that's something I don't take lightly. And that's why I named my son, he's a junior, because it's going to hold me accountable because my name is attached to him. So anything I do in my life, good or bad, he's gonna reap those seeds. So I just love it, man. I just love kids. You know what I mean? I love kids. I do. I
Man,
do.
that's awesome. That's awesome. You said anything that you do is he's gonna reap the benefit or kind of get the downturn of it. How important is it for you to build your brand and how are you keeping it in the best light as possible?
Oof. I think my biggest goal is I want to be genuine. You know what I mean? I want to
Mm,
be authentic. I don't want no cookie cutter. I don't want to sound like I'm holier than thou or righteous or self-righteous. Like my brand is your neighbor. You know what I mean? I'm your neighbor. Like you're gonna argue with your neighbor. You know what I mean? Your neighbors is gonna be loud sometimes. They're gonna get you off. The dog might go, use the bathroom on your grass, but you know what I mean? Like when you need something, if there's an emergency, you're gonna turn to your neighbor, like, or yo, can you do this? Can you help me with this? Can you help me cut my grass? You know what I mean? Like that's who I am. Like I'm a servant. I'm a servant of others. And the one thing about my brand about being your neighbor is you can't be someone's neighbor unless you're in close proximity to them. You know,
mm.
that's something for me personally as a kid. I grew up as an introvert. I am comfortable being alone. Like we could sit in the elevator going up 30 floors, and I promise you I won't say one word to you, and I will be so comfortable doing it. You know what I mean? That's something that God has challenged me to get out of my shell, because your neighbor, you gotta be willing to break that mold, and God has built us to do life with others. You know what I mean? So
Mm,
I just want to be genuine with people. I want to tell people the real authentic me. Like, yo, I'm not, I'm not a perfect father. I'm not a perfect educator. I'm not a perfect coach. I'm not a perfect man. I've had many failures. I've made mistakes in my life. But you know what? When I make those mistakes, I'm gonna get back up and I'm gonna take a step forward, and I'm gonna share it with people. I'm not gonna hold it in. I'm not gonna feel shame or guilt. And that's me as a neighbor, as your neighbor. Like, I'm here in close proximity to you, because when you call, when you text, I'm gonna answer.
I love that. I love that. That's the biggest thing. One, it's crazy that you would go up 30 flights without saying well. I would literally be driving myself crazy.
I'll be making eye contact, like that meme with the hot wings meme, and they just looking at each other, not saying a
Oh
word.
my gosh. I would literally be going crazy. That's one. Two, it's true, like you said it best, one, in order to be someone's neighbor, you have to be in close proximity to them, which is so true. Like, even though I'm in Syracuse, New York, and you're in Boston, Massachusetts, I said Boston, Massachusetts, you know, I still feel like we still have that connection because one, I could just hit you up and be like, hey, what you doing, bro? Like, let's hop on a game or something like that.
Yeah.
It like close proximity doesn't mean have to be physical. It could be the relationship wise. And just speaking on relationships, you know, throughout your journey, somebody had to have at least said some piece of advice to you that kind of kept you above your shoulders. What was that advice that was given to you?
Um, I don't know if it was ever, to be honest with you, the moment it all changed for me is, and this is the moment I found myself, my real self. You know what I mean? I think, for in complete honesty, um, football was my identity. You know what I mean? Football was my life. And obviously, the moment you lose your sport that you build your identity, that's when, like, I had depression. I faced some depression. I faced some anxiety. I had to go to therapy and counseling. You know what I mean? And God bless the Lord has healed me from that. And then, when you play sports, you're always trying to get that nod, that round of applause, that acceptance, that feeling of acceptance and approval. And then when you no longer have sports, right? Who's giving you that approval? Who's giving you that instant gratification? You know what I mean? Who's
Mm,
patting you on the back? And it wasn't until 2018, when I gave my life to the Lord, and He told me, like, son, I'm proud of you. And
mm,
it was at that moment that I realized that this whole time I've been, seeking approval from my parents, trying to make my parents proud, trying to make my coaches proud, trying to make my brother Solly and my siblings proud, trying to make my hood, my city proud. Um, None of that mattered anymore, because when God said, you know what, son, I'm proud of you, I was like, and that's what I strive for. That's what keeps my head above my shoulders every day. Is I'm trying to make God proud. Like, I'm trying to honor Him with what He's given me. Even with me and you relationship, our friendship. Like, I want to honor God through our friendship, our relationship. You know what I mean? And through everything, I'm gonna fall. I'm gonna make mistakes. I'm gonna make, you know what I mean, have a bad day. But I think at the end of the day, that unconditional love is what keeps me up, keeps me going forward.
no, I love that. I love that. Knowing that you have God there with you throughout every step, every part of your journey, you know, it's this Bible verse that I love to death. Is a man plans his journey. No, a man has an idea. I'm paraphrasing. It's a man has a journey in his heart, but God plans the steps, or it's something around that nature.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
it's true, and you're a walking testimony of that. Um, you you, you gave your life back to Christ in 2018, and look at what you've been doing. A lot of great, great, great things, from scholarships to just cultivating a group of high school kids that just want to kind of get the best out of themselves and want to learn more. to, just being a great father. I want to wrap up the podcast with these last two questions. I'll ask them one at a time. You know, what advice do you have for kids that might be listening? My demographic is more so, people going into college, people in college, and people making that transition out of college and a few years after college.
Yeah.
What advice do you have for them as life is moving fast? They're making multiple different transitions, going from one job internship to another internship, job to job. Um, what advice would you have for them to kind of keep their head above their shoulders and let them know everything is going to be okay?
Yo, it's funny because actually that's what my devotional. I wrote a 7-day devotional on that. It's called "Are You Ready for What's Next?" Um, you can get it on Amazon. Shameless plug. You can go get it on Amazon. Are you ready for what's next? But my advice for them, to be honest with you, is just keep rolling with the punches. You know what I mean? I think that, you know, someone said this. It's kind of corny, but there's real truth to it. Is when one door closes, two doors open. You know what I mean? And I think that now I look at it in my life as I say, when you've been rejected, it's actually God redirecting you. You know what I mean? So I want people to know as they enter in and out of a season, whether it's, could be a new job, new career, new state. Just be open and take it for what it's worth. Learn something. There's a reason why you're there. Even if it's for a day, there's a reason why you're there. If you're going into an interview, they're not interviewing you. You're interviewing them because you don't want to be in a place where you're not you don't belong there because you're trying to be someone you're not.
Mm.
But I think my biggest, if especially for people who are going to college, network, get out of your dorm, meet people, go, just get involved and do engagement activities. Don't just fall into the norm of going to college, being an athlete. And that's my biggest regret is not getting out there and being in the community as much as I should have. Because I was an athlete. I only chilled with my roommates. If you wasn't my roommate, you didn't know who I was. And looking back at it now, I wish I never did that. I wish I would have went out, you know what I mean? Hung out at the local dining area or the library, I wish I would have been able to like do some community outreach stuff, like just stuff like that, man.
No, I love that. I love that. And this last question, I lied. I actually have one more after this one, but I'll ask this one. This last question is I love asking this question. And when you look at the pod, this is the main objective that I really want to portray is, success is defined by the person. You
Yeah.
can't compare your success with somebody else's because you're two different people. So what would you say success is for you?
Uh, my success is as a professional, my success is to just continue to plant good seeds and water them with good water and so that they produce good fruit. So, but like I don't know what the word is, but basically, I want to be a superintendent one day. You said something earlier that I wanted to touch upon. You know what I mean? You talked about learning cultures. I think when you think about public school education, right, there's so many limited opportunities. So as a superintendent, you're the boss man, you're the top dog. You know what I mean? I want to bring teachers not just read about cultures. I don't want to just read about, Nigeria. I don't want to just read about Haiti. I don't want to just read about Cape Verde or Puerto Rico. I want to bring my teachers there. I want them to live. I want them to stay there. I want them to breathe the air. I want them to eat the food. I want them to learn the culture hands on. So that's one thing. And the second thing that success looks like to me is building houses for the less fortunate, whether it be on a missions trip or whether it be in my city, and just giving back and just people knowing that I'm a selfless leader, that I will do whatever it takes to help the next generation of people. You know what I mean? And the God has blessed me with gifts and talents and the resources to do it. So that's what success looks like to me. I don't think I can define that actually. Now that I'm wrapping it up, I don't know if it's continuing. It's just being obedient to the Lord.
Hey, and that's the beauty of it because there's no right or wrong answer to it. It's all defined by how you think. And look, you can say success. I can't define success because I can never. I it's always something more I can do. You
Exactly.
know, and for me, if I was to just define success, which I think I defined it once, so I'm not going to redefine it because I like to give myself a 7-year grace period before I double back on anything. Because that's when I feel like when you give yourselves, because look, I've learned in high school, no, it was middle school, your taste buds change every 7 years, right?
Yep.
So if you want to think about it, your mind, like your taste buds is connected to your mind. So in my head, if I don't like I was just eating guacamole and chips before, as I was trying to set up for this pod. If you would have asked me 7 years ago, I was never eating guacamole.
Facts. It's avocado for me.
Exactly. So give me a few more years. I'll double back and see if success my definition has changed. But I know we spoke offline about this last one, about this next question I'm about to ask you. You're coming out with an article. You kind of said a little bit about your devotion, how that's on Amazon. Make sure everyone gets that. I'll put it in the description. Yes, sir. But you said you're coming out with an article when we were speaking offline, called People Not Politics.
Yeah.
Just give me a little bit more information about the overall message on what that is, and what you're hoping people kind of portray or obtain from this article.
Brother, we don't need more laws and policies. Maybe we do, right? You can argue that we do, but without people enforcing and people straight up standing in the gap with those policies, like we just gonna keep spinning in circles. So yeah, I'm writing an article right now, an educational article about saying people not politics, because there's always a year where there's new laws being made, new policies, new procedures. But we got to start with the people. You know what I mean?
Mm,
That you need to have, like we have, you work in a higher education institute. What's the biggest thing of every college right now is DEI, right? But that's a policy. If you don't got the people enforcing that policy and people on the procedures of that policy, those policies go nowhere. And until
nowhere.
you got those people, and we need to focus. Yes, we could focus on the policy, but we need more emphasis on the people, and not just hiring people to check a box. We need to start. We need to start developing and growing those people, and then retaining those people. You know what I
Mm,
mean? So I know that's something you can relate to, but it's the same thing with us. We got a DEI initiative in the state of Massachusetts. That's a policy, but
yeah,
if you ain't got people, what good is it?
it's true, man. It's true. People is what, like, it kind of goes back to something I said in a few podcasts ago. Sports help give you the tools to make you great, but the journey is what actually makes you great.
Yeah, the process, not the product. Yeah,
Exactly. So it's the process of us actually putting these initiatives into place and putting the right people there, as well as not making it seem like, as you said, you're checking a name off a box, you're checking the item off a box. Because how many times, like, what's really checking an item off a box? You wake up, put your clothes on, go to work. Those are
yeah,
3 items that you just checked off. But what you do in between, oh, I want to go and get coffee. You don't
yeah,
have to get coffee. You
yeah.
chose to. Why? Because that's something that you want to do. So the way I see it is that the people that you put in these places would have to want to do it. They would have to, oh my God, you about to, it's not, hey, this is your episode. I'm sorry, man. Like,
Go ahead. You got something to say?
it,
Say it, man. Come on.
it's true, because like when you think about a lot of this stuff, I know John Gordon is one of my favorite authors just because of the content
Awesome.
that he puts
Love
up.
his books. Love his books.
And a quote that I'll never forget is, you get to do something. Uh, You get to do something, not you have to do it. So for the people that are putting out these policies and things of that nature, they should be proud that they're getting to do these things. But now let's get people that want to enforce them in the most positive light, instead
Well,
of getting people that's just going to check the boxes. So,
this book right here, not to cut you off, this book right here, my mother gave me this book. My mother got a bookstore in New Bedford. It's called Punish for Dreaming. This is one of the
mm,
best books I've read in a very long time. And this book summed up those policies. Policies are put in place so that the system serves the system, not so the system serves students. And that can be interchangeable for business, corporations, higher education, universities, public school education, whatever. The system is designed to support the system, not children. And it's that simple.
Yeah. Amen. Amen. I'm excited for the article to come out. I don't know if you have a release date for it yet, but hopefully you send me the link for it because I
Got it,
definitely
brother.
want to read it, man. I definitely want to
Got
read
it.
it. And when you do send it, I'll make sure I'll put it on IG. My next podcast.